You got to have more receiving yards, Travis Kelce or George Kittle?
That's Travis Kelce. Why? Because he's primary option number one in the passing game for Patrick Mahomes. And they know without him having a big game and without him getting double-digit targets, they're probably not going to win this football game. Now, they're not going to all be deep shots down the field, but Andy will create different ways in order to get him off the line of scrimmage clean, get him working in space, and then from there, you know him and Patrick just ad-lib and play a little backyard ball now and then. So for sure, this is Travis Kelce time.
See if he throws up that heart celebration again. Graziano, more rushing yards, Isaiah Pacheco or McCaffrey?
I'm going to go with McCaffrey. It's a tough one. I don't feel like I can be as definitive as like, for example, someone might be if they were writing a book called Got Your Answer. But I think McCaffrey, McCaffrey the better player. I think a bigger part of the game plan for the 49ers. This could go either way, but giving McCaffrey just going with the more dynamic dude.
He could have some yards in the air as well, perhaps. And Jeff, who will have more touchdown passes, Mahomes or Purdy?
I'm going Mahomes here, and again, I think part of it goes to CMC. I think if you're the 49ers, you're going to be handing that thing off as much as you can. I think you're going to put the ball in Mahomes' hands. If you're the Chiefs, whether it's through Kelce, receivers, Pacheco, you name it, however you can get the ball out of his hands. He seems to do the right thing the majority of the time, so let him touch it as much as possible.
All right, so we're counting it down, and again, last night was media night, and frequently that just produces a lot of nonsense. But actually, there were some interesting things said at media night last night. Let's start with Patrick Mahomes. He's 28 years old, and he hears all the conversation around him of his being on track to be the greatest of all time. But when Mahomes was asked, he said this.
I mean, I'm not even close to halfway, so I haven't put a lot of thought into it. I mean, your goal is to be the best player that you can be. I know I'm blessed to be around a lot of great players around me. And so right now it's doing whatever I can to beat a great 49ers team and trying to get that third ring. And then if you ask me that question in like 15 years, and I'll see if I can get close to 7, but 7 seems like a long ways away still.
So there were two things that jumped out at me about that. The first of them is that he just essentially suggested he plans to play 15 more years, which is great news for all the rest of us.
Having a good time.
The other is, Jeff, and you were around this, you were at Super Bowl media days and all that. If you were to have written out what would be the perfect answer to that question for Patrick Mahomes to give, that would have been it.
100%. But when doesn't he give the perfect answer? I mean, that's the reality, right? Is this guy, if you're a teammate of his and you hear the way he answers just about every question, you go, that's my dude. I want to go play for him. I want to go win with him. He's the type of leader I want to be around because he turns everything back on himself. He lessens the pressure for those around him, and you just appreciate it. And here's the great part about it. The argument of legacy is going to be argued with all of us anyway. All he can go do is go play. Go win the one that you can go win right now, and then keep stacking those chips, and hopefully at the end we can really have a conversation about it.
You know, I'm going to make Julian Goldstick, our producer, mad at me because I'm going to change where we were otherwise going to go. But you made me think in our first hour, Lewis, we talked a lot about the traits that the great quarterbacks have, some of which are very difficult to identify going in. But the reality is, people look at Patrick Mahomes and they see the off-target throws, they see his ability to run, they see all these things and they assume that's what makes him great. But the truth is, this stuff that we're talking about, Lewis, the stuff that isn't as easy to identify, maybe impossible in the draft process, his ability to lead, his ability to handle adversity, his ability to keep the real thing when the moments like this happen at the Super Bowl. That's what makes him arguably as good as anybody we've ever seen.
There's no question about it. It's that subjective part of the equation, of the analysis, that quite honestly, look, front offices wrestle with every single year, trying to find out about the authentic individual. Who is he really? Who is he really when I'm not watching him? Who is he really when he's already achieved some measure of success? Will he continue to kind of work like he's a day oneer, like he just is walking in the building? And I'll tell you this, Brett Veach, the general manager of the Chiefs, who I've known for a long time, he is a great friend, He went to bat for Patrick Mahomes. He told Andy Reid, not only is this guy special in terms of the things that he can do throwing the football, but this is the kind of guy we want in our organization to sit behind Alex Smith, learn how to become a professional in terms of what the week looks like, how to prepare and whatnot, so he can, from a self-managerial standpoint, get his process in place. But he has it all. He really believed that Patrick Mahomes had not only the on-the-field ability, but the right kind of wiring. And that's what it's always about with these guys. That's what always separates the special ones from the ones who are good, from the ones who are average, from the ones who are backups, from the ones who can only get on training camp rosters. A lot of times, it's here. It's here. If you want uncommon success, Jeff knows it requires uncommon sacrifice.
That's right.
Patrick is willing to make the uncommon sacrifices, even though he's going to make $500 million, which is still a bargain. Still a bargain.
I think that's the thing, right? Like, he's focused on, like, the question about Tom Brady, the way that lands in his brain is, well, that's silly. I haven't done it yet. Like, I still have to do a lot of stuff in order to be in that conversation. Like, I go back to, like, if you had told the teenage Mets fan that I was in the 1980s that Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden weren't going to be in the Hall of Fame, I would have thought you're being ridiculous, right? I mean, because they were doing things at a level that we'd never seen. They didn't do it. They didn't keep at it. And Patrick Mahomes seems to have an appreciation for, I've got to continue to do this. I've got to continue every single offseason to find ways to get better to make sure that I can do what Tom Brady did, who, by the way, his Super Bowl loss was to Tom Brady. So I think that's he has an up-close appreciation for what that all means and the work that goes into it.
And I think when you think about his upbringing, right, around a professional baseball player, his father, all those kinds of conversations that you have and that you see, is you do realize it's what have you done for me lately. Now think about this. Kelsey's going to be gone. Andy Reid might be gone, right, in a couple weeks. Like, there's a lot of change that happens in the NFL. What made Brady so special is that he left one place, went to another place, and goes on. So what's the continuity for Mahomes is smart enough to realize this ain't all going to stay the same. There's going to be change, but the ones that you can get are right now. Let me go seek my opportunity and take advantage of the opportunity.
And when you look at the way he reacted to Tyreek Hill being gone, right? Go back to that off season, that training camp. And I remember going to that training camp and talking to him and talking to Andy Reid about what would be different. And I remember Andy Reid telling me, I think this is going to be good for Patrick because he's going to have to elevate a little bit as a quarterback, as a leader, develop in ways that, that if everything always stayed the same, he wouldn't have. So that seems to have come to fruition.
Can we talk about leadership just for 1 second, too? Let me just say this about his leadership. From this year, when the receivers were dropping and he overthrows MVS in the end zone and it goes through his hands. And his response that we all mocked, by the way, was, I should have taken a little bit off of that throw. And what does he do? Right here. Fast forward to the AFC Championship game. He takes a little bit off, and MVS makes the catch, and they solidify another trip to the Super Bowl. But what's crazy to me is he didn't blast his receivers like we were all doing. He took it on himself and said, hey, I'm going to do this. You don't think MVS wanted to catch that ball for that dude? 100 out of 100. The dude he would do anything in the world to make that catch because his guy didn't dress him down when he had the opportunity. That is leadership. That's what translates in a locker room, and I just appreciate it from a player perspective.
Lewis, I'm just thinking about the first quarterback MVS played with.
Lewis, go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the kind of building a little bit off of what Dan was alluding to. Tom Brady had the benefit of, for the better part of 2 decades, having a system in place that didn't change. A lot of the things changed around him, but Bill was a constant throughout his entire career. If Patrick wants to play 11, 15 more years, whatever it is, Andy ain't going to be around all that time.
Right.
He's just not. And so the thing is, like, for Patrick, the mountain that he has to climb may require even more than he's already given if he wants to truly reach, that kind of immortal status, that one of the titans of the game status that he's after, which is so damn cool to sit here and be a part of and watch this unfold, because he may have to start over. Yep. He may have to start over with, a totally different team, just like Tom Brady did, but a structure around him that doesn't involve Andy Reid. And let me tell you something. Andy Reid is one of those types of guys who, when you're around him and you're standing next to him and you're talking to him about football, or you're on a headset like I had the good fortune of being on the headset with him during games in Philadelphia, he is such a when you talk about a guy who kind of elevates the performance of other people around him as a coach, his calmness, his demeanor, his being on top of everything that's happening, especially from an offensive perspective, you cannot really measure how beneficial that is to Patrick. Mm-hmm. You can't, and he's not going to have that later on in his career. So we may not have even seen the very best of what Patrick has to offer yet, but we will.
It's an important point because while it has become very fashionable, I think largely amongst people who have no idea what they're talking about, to diminish the impact that Bill Belichick had on Tom Brady. The reality is Brady made 90% of his Super Bowls and won 85% of them with one coach.
That's right.
With Bill Belichick as his coach. So I don't know how long Andy Reid is going to coach.
That's right.
Hopefully, for everyone's sake, a lot longer because that combination.
Chào tất cả các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh YouTube của mình. Video ngày hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn tô một sản phẩm con thằn lằn. Bây giờ chúng ta cùng bắt đầu nào.
Đầu tiên mình sẽ đi chọn màu để tô cho bức tranh của mình các bạn ạ. Các bạn theo dõi quá trình mình đi tô màu nhé. Cảm ơn các bạn. Anh đã thấy em đi với ai rồi. Anh đã thấy từng người mà em đã đi khi về đêm. Anh đã thấy phấn son rồi. Giày cao gót nước hoa thơm ngát. Hà Mã bảo to cái mẹ tao. Mình còn kéo thì mình tan mất đi răng rồi. Như vậy là mình đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh của mình các bạn ạ. Các bạn thấy đẹp thì hãy cho mình xin like, đăng ký kênh để ủng hộ mình. Mình cảm ơn các bạn rất là nhiều. Tạm biệt các bạn.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh YouTube của mình. Video ngày hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn tô màu sản phẩm bò sữa đáng yêu. Bây giờ chúng ta cùng bắt đầu nào.
Thế thì cái đài này đúng mình mấy bố vợ thì mẹ lại rủ nhau ra ngoài đường ngủ tự giác ấy.
Đường ngủ.
Đầu tiên mình sẽ đi chọn màu tô cho bức tranh của mình các bạn ạ. Các bạn theo dõi quá trình mình đi tô màu nhé. Cảm ơn các bạn. Các bạn ngáp suốt ở trên đéo rồi nhỉ. Tỉnh táo lên, Hòa này. Để các bạn ra vả anh một cái đi. Để các bạn đeo rồi.
2 cái được.
3 cái đi cũng được. Để các bạn.
Kiểu này cái sọc của cả đời mình xong nhé. Tắt đi ra đây. Khi mà
Ôi ơi, mũi ơi là mũi.
tôi xóa.
Làm không làm béo lắm nghĩ tới Tết nhé.
Đi tên vui rồi.
Mẹ tiền không có, cứ có tiền là người nào cũng là Tết.
Thì ngày nào cũng vui.
Ngày nào cũng vui, không có tiền thì Tết vẫn là ngày buồn. Tết với mọi người, với Hoàn là gần, Tết với anh là xa lắm Hoàn ạ.
Gần giờ.
Không, Tết với anh nó là quá xa vời với anh, nó là một thứ gì xa xỉ.
Thế nào là làm cho bình thường được.
Nhưng mà có tiền, cứ có tiền là gần, cứ có tiền là bình thường.
Chưa không tiền.
Làm nhưng mà không có tiền đâu.
Tiền vào máy sinh nhật đâu. Cho gì. Này ai chặt tiền này.
Đi các bạn. Rồi ra lại còn Dung Cưng, em mua bánh cho chó à, chị cảm ơn nhé. Gì các bạn. Thật nhưng mà anh mà đi ăn sinh nhật ai á, bạn anh nói chung là đi sinh nhật với ai, anh không biết tặng một cái gì cho người ta cả, không biết người ta đang cần cái gì, anh có mua bánh sinh nhật với cả thêm 2 loét vào đấy, thêm cái phong bì toàn thế mà.
Chịu thế, nghe sướng nhà em bánh cường này, cường đã đó bị 5 loét rồi. Bánh sinh nhật luôn. Không hỏi anh Cường bảo gái đi cùng anh Cường, không anh Cường thì trả hết 2 bánh luôn đi phục quán.
Đấy mà cô con gái nữa thì đi các mẹ mình sĩ đài vãi lồi.
Sướng gái luôn. Lấy đâu ai ra đang mình Cường một người mà thấy trân trọng đi. Có người con gái nào xem video này, mọi người nghe mình mà comment ở dưới video này.
Mình sẽ cho
anh Cường video.
Đi các mẹ. Nếu làm được, chưa qua nếu làm được các bạn ạ. Như vậy là mình đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh của mình các bạn ạ. Các bạn thấy đẹp thì hãy cho mình xin lượt like, lượt đăng ký kênh. Cảm ơn các bạn rất là nhiều. Cảm ơn các bạn.